Welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I have Peter Awad here joining us. He's a fellow Christian guy. He's a business owner. He coaches people in leadership in life and in business. He's a well-to-do entrepreneur, has had been a podcast host himself for years, did hundreds of episodes, but he's helping people really kind of build clarity in their business. We're going to talk about some tactics toward the end. So wait toward the end. We're going to really dive into some of those things. If you haven't liked and subscribed, make sure to do that down below. Everybody that's listening here, there's a free gift for you. I want to make sure everybody that is building online, that wants to build something amazing and they are kingdom driven, they're focused and they want to build something amazing, down below is a free video link that I created for you so that you could be able to build that online, build a media team, buy back your time, be able to look at building a life that you want. Peter, as we're diving into this, one of the questions I ask everybody is, what is high performance? What does that look like to you? How have you described that, leading so many people over the years with all the businesses you've created?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here. High performance needs to encapsulate all areas. It needs to be holistic. And so I think a lot of times when we're driven and we're grinding and we're laser focused, those are all really incredible traits. But sometimes we're only focused on one area of our life. And so usually it's revenue, growing a team, growing a business. And those things are important. But then we let things fall to the wayside, like family and friends, community, personal health, spiritual health, mental health, all those things. And so I think high performance is someone that can be a public success and also a private success.
Love that, man. Because I mean, behind open doors, behind doors, you got the family. We've seen it quite a bit where people that are great on the outside, but internally in the family dynamic, especially leading them, it can become a disaster. So making sure that there's a well balance with all of it, I think, is really, really important. I want to dive into more of that with you on our podcast here today, but give the audience a little bit more of a context of like who you are, how, like, your success, the quick elevator understanding of Peter here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you the nickel tour. Grew up in an immigrant family. And the reason I bring that up is because I started working when I was 7 years old, getting paid $5 a day. And I just loved business, man. Like hard work is in my DNA. And so just embracing that, fast forwarding and needing to get a respectable degree. I say that in air quotes because that's what my parents would say. Got an engineering degree, realized I'm not interested in that profession. Never worked in that profession outside of internships. And so started a business in college, working in e-com, and it's quickly took off. So by the time I graduated college, I was making more money than I ever would have made being an engineer. Plus I enjoyed it a lot. And so ran that company for a long time, SaaS company, a couple podcasts, like you mentioned. Last e-com company we ran for 9 years and just exited early last year. But all the while, man, and this is why the first show, Slow Hustle, was so important to me, because I remember looking back and thinking my dad was crazy. One day, super stoked on business. Next day, head in his hands at the kitchen table, lamenting about how he thought maybe they were going out of business. And I thought, this guy's out of his mind. But then finding myself in that same place, finding myself in that same place of being like, dude, I feel like I'm losing my mind here. And so started interviewing. This is in 2015, interviewing other founders and entrepreneurs, trying to figure out like, what's your life like? Like, we'll talk about your business, but your personal life, like, what's it look? What would your wife say? What would your kids say? And the 9 times out of 10, Nathan, their life wasn't awesome. You see behind the curtain and you think, dude, this person that I idolized, no, thank you. And so fast forward again, right in the beginning of COVID, 2019, 2020, just again, having like my every 2 years sort of like crisis of feeling like I just wasn't working on what God put me on this earth to do. And my wife's like, you got to get this figured out. This is happening to you every couple of years. So I got a coach, teased out superpowers, and very quickly realized that I was just working on just the wrong projects. These are things I was good at, but not great at, things that I was good at, but just wasn't happy with. And the bias for action, the ability to work hard sometimes could be a detriment because you can just power through things, sometimes power through the wrong things. And so for me, it was realizing like, oh, my superpowers aren't in line with what I need to be doing. And no wonder there's been so much tension. No wonder I've had so many crises throughout my life of just feeling like I just wasn't working on the right project. And what's really cool about looking in the rearview mirror is I started to see areas in my life where I was trying to scratch that itch. I just didn't realize what it was. Like, why was I having coffee conversations with everybody and talking through life problems and business problems? Why was my podcast, both of them interview style? Because I loved it was coaching in person. It was
Right.
coaching in public, I should say. And so, and realizing that, and then starting to coach folks and realizing like I'm not the only one. A lot of us are just doing what needs to be done. And then we start saying old guy, old lady things, right? Like, oh, this is what you should do. This is just what life's like, Nathan. This is part of it. Like just saying old people things. It's like, okay, this is interesting. And so what I'm working on now, I was just telling you before the show, it's the most important project I've ever worked on because this is like truly helping leaders figure out why they were put on this earth. Because boy, I'll tell you, when you're in that pocket, when you're in that space, you go from riding on the back country roads to riding on the interstate. Everything's just got much more power
Yeah.
because you're in line with what you want to do. And oh, by the way, it's what the Lord wants you to do. And you're utilizing those powers, and it's exponential, man.
Talk about your journey with that a little bit, because I mean, growing up in an immigrant family, like that wasn't easy by any means. What did you see, when you're growing up to like starting to get out of engineering school saying, hey, I got to dive into being an entrepreneur myself? What was that like? Because I think that's not necessarily the normal path. Did you feel like you were wired a little bit different? Because I mean, I feel like that's a common thing of like selling cookies, or a lemonade stand that causes that grind and grit to be forged or something, or you caught it from your family. What was that like?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's so complicated. So the thing is, like the distinction between self-employed and entrepreneur, we have to talk about that just for a second
Yeah.
because those are very, very different people.
Hmm.
I would say my parents were self-employed. They were not entrepreneurial. They're pretty risk averse. If you needed more money, you worked more. It wasn't like hiring people and scaling a team or multiple locations. And so they taught me how to work hard. And that was important. And it's always been really important to me. Like they know how to work hard. My kids, I've got 4 kids, they know how to work hard.
Hmm.
But it's also being able to zoom out and think more clearly and analytically. And so, yeah, man, mowed grass, sold candy in the middle school hallways, got in trouble for just trying to figure out how to make a buck here, there, and the other. I'm just hustling all the time.
Yeah.
It's always been in me, right? And y- you know, getting this degree, working a couple internships in college, and realizing, like, dude, I would see myself, my future self, when I'd go and they had me interviewing different people in different departments, and I thought, wait a minute, am I going to turn into this guy? Like this guy's been here 25 years and he looks like he hasn't showered in a couple of weeks. Like, is this what I'm going to turn into? And no knock against engineers, they don't all look like that, right? But it's like I just saw my future self and I thought, this is not me. I'm not excited about this. And so I think that tension between self-employed and entrepreneurship, the tension between what you should do, which is what I heard a lot, versus what I want to do, versus what God wants me to do, versus how I was wired, is incredibly important. And so I would say that my parents probably didn't understand what I did until very recently. I
Hmm.
would say that they thought I was moderately nuts for graduating with an engineering degree and not even getting a job. And I had probably 7 different offers.
Yeah, what
And
was
so,
that like? Because I can only imagine it's like the Mark Zuckerberg, like in the dorm room, you know,
yeah,
figuring out how did you fall into e-commerce in the first place? Because I think
yeah,
that's pretty interesting to fall into. Because I mean, there's one thing to create like local market, and then finding that online is the path forward to be able to reach so many more people. Like that's pretty intuitive. That I mean, it's pretty unique.
yeah. I'll share that story. I'll also share real quick the conversation with the parents about not taking the job. For the listener, you have to know who you are. And then you have to have the confidence to move forward when the society and culture and parents tell you that you're crazy. The only way you know that is by knowing your identity. And the only way
Mm.
you'll know that is by having a strong relationship with the Lord. That's
Yeah.
the only way you're going to be able to move in confidence. Because otherwise, you're going to, no matter how hard headed you are, you're going to probably do what society and culture tells you to do. So just a little note. Ecom was interesting. I talk about working hard. So I was going to school about 40 hours a week, engineering degree, not as hard as medical, but damn near. And I had a 20-hour a week internship, engineering internship. And then I ran my business from midnight to about 4 a.m. every night. And I was selling product. This is the days of eBay, right? This is back in 2000, selling product. But I wasn't around for the UPS guy to show up. And so I rented a closet in this apartment complex, and I would put my finished packages in there in the middle of the night. And I gave the UPS guy a key, and he would come by while I was at school, and he'd pick up the packages. That was the only way I could figure it out.
Wow.
It was absolutely ridiculous. And my apartment turned into a shipping center, and we're packaging packages, and I'm getting deliveries. It is absolutely nuts. And I was cheap. And so I had a third floor apartment because that was the cheapest. And then this closet was on the second floor. And so after school, I'd pick up the packages the UPS guy dropped off in the second floor storage unit. And then I'd haul them up to the third floor. And I'm shipping auto parts, bro. This is not like, I'm not shipping, feathers. Like, this is really heavy stuff. And then I'm packaging in the middle of the night. I'm sure my neighbors thought I was crazy. Like, you could just hear the whiz of the tape, and just taping packages and then run them downstairs and rinse and repeat. So that's what it looked like, man. And it was built on relationship. And that business lasted a very long time because I had relationships with vendors that other people just could not, they couldn't open the door. And I'd get exclusive deals on products that other folks couldn't, all because I took the time to build relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You have to actually care. And I think you said that early on. Like, you have to actually care. And when you actually care, it shines through. And I
Yeah.
actually think, like, you're in the business of AI, right? And I think um, that is so powerful, and it's continuing to be more and more powerful, like that wanting to care, because I don't know about you, but I don't know that AI is ever going to be able to do that, or at least not soon. And so it can open doors, it can nurture, but to actually care, that's for us to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, so when did it start picking up? Because I know entrepreneurship journey is not easy. Like, there's the grit, there's the grind, there's the line in the sand moment where you're like, hey, maybe I should just go get a job, or do I continue to grind this out? Like, what was that journey like? How many years did it take for it to kind of like start panning out for you?
Yeah. I would say we had some really early success. Early to the game is always really healthy and helpful, which is probably something you talk about, especially in the world that you're in. Early adoption can really pay off. Sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of times it does. And so early in on ecom helped a lot. I'd say that it was a few years in that I realized, like, dude, I'm scaling this completely wrong.
Mm.
This is like the grocery store online. I'm running this like a self-employed person. And just thinking that I just needed to work more and do more myself. And so here's the thing that's interesting about business, Nathan, and you know this already. Early success can actually be a problem because you think that you did it and you
Mm.
think you got the Midas touch. It's actually pretty dangerous. And so my mentor used to always say, you benefit better and more from an early success than an early failure than an early success. Because at early success, you just feel like you got the Midas touch. And I'd say for me, the first few years, we were like on a rocket ship. And it was after that where it started to falter, where I was like, wait a minute, I don't have the tools that I need.
Mm.
I don't even know what I'm doing. It's like growing in spite of yourself, right? It's like um, the profitability can cover up a multitude of sins. Like, you can just fake it when the cash is rolling in, but when it's not, you realize, like, wait a minute, I am naked and exposed here. Like, I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to grow this company. It just was making money, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And so I would say it was a few years in that I realized that I just was missing a few things, and I was replicating the store online. It's probably why I gravitated towards ecom, because it was just peddling products, but instead of over the counter, it was just over the internet, right?
Yeah. When did you find out like how to do that though? Was it from a coaching course or a friend that told you, "Hey, you got to go online and sell product," or you saw some YouTube videos? What even interested in you doing that?
Yeah. Such an interesting story. I've been told it a long time. I um I was at a car show in Atlanta, and I met a vendor. The vendor, this is in Atlanta. I'm living in Orlando, and it turns out that he lives kind of around the corner from me, so to speak, like maybe 15 minutes from school. And he's like, "Hey, I could wholesale to you, and you could sell to your friends." And I'm like, "Well, that could be interesting because I've got a pretty huge network." And so I start to do that, and I realize, like, man, this is like a really small pool. And I had been purchasing things on the internet at that time. And I say it that way because this is the year 2000, right? So for the younger listeners, they're like, wait a minute, was the internet even around then? Yeah, it was around. It was nascent, but it was there. And so I had purchased plenty of parts for my car online. And I thought, well, I should just list this and see what happens. Now, here's the funny thing. And this is like my fire ready aim approach, lean startup methodology, whatever you want to call it. I listed a bunch of products I didn't even own. I just knew I had access to them. I knew I could get them, and I knew what the costs were going to be. And I didn't have any money. So I just started listing products. And then I'd wake up in the morning and I had sales, and I was like, oh, shoot, I got to go figure this out. And so I would just go pick up the products after I sold them. And that's how I bankrolled the business for a long time.
Hmm.
Is selling products before I owned them. And that was like a totally novel, like ridiculous idea. Which talk about being the opposite of the grocery store. It's like you didn't sell products that weren't on the shelf. But I thought, well, I don't have money. How do I fix this? And so I just started listing stuff. And then that cash flow and profitability would then fund the next sales. And then finally I started stockpiling product. But for me, it was like, hey, this is how I consume products. I might as well vend them the same way. And so that's what kicked it off.
How much was it a mess though? I mean, was it all auto parts at this point, or was it like just all sorts of like a hodgepodge of like, this is a store with all sorts of things on it?
All auto parts. And so I did
At
keep
least
it
you were
really,
niche
really
down. I mean,
specialized. Oh, dude. And you know what's really funny? And again, I told you guys about how look in the rearview mirror, life's really interesting. I gravitated towards products that were extremely hard to explain. And so I
mm,
was leaning on my engineering background to be like, hey, these are products that companies have a hard time providing customer service for because you need to be super technical. And so those are the products that I would market because I was like, well, it's hard for folks to market. It's incredibly hard for them to support these products and provide customer service for them. So those are the products that I listed. And it stayed that way for a very long time.
interesting. Talk about exiting one of these businesses too, because you've done that multiple times. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not an easy feat to find a buyer to, look at the EBITDA and all this elements of a business to really kind of even have a good exit.
Yeah. So the snack food brand we exited early last year. It was a friend of mine and I started it. It was our baby, and it had a mission component. It was really important to us, especially important to me. And I tell you, it was around that time, a few years prior to where I started going on this journey of purpose and superpowers. And for me, and for a lot of us that are driven, once you see something, you can't unsee it. And so once I saw that I was working on things that I was good at, not great at, it was hard for me to like, I couldn't put it out of my mind. And so I thought, well, we need to figure out how to get this thing to where it's in a place where it's easily marketed for acquisition. And so we worked on that for a couple of years. And then I'll tell you the best thing that I feel like I did personally was to talk to everybody I could that had been through at least one acquisition, if not multiple. A friend of mine, Travis, has sold 12 companies now. So I had a lot of conversations with him to really prepare my mind for like, hey, this is how it's going to go. And this is what you're going to do if you're not paying attention. This is how you're going to get emotional. This is how you're going to get attached. This is how you're going to screw it up. And having people like that in your corner, no matter what you're doing, is critically important, Nathan, because
Yeah.
those are people that have gone before you and they've got the wisdom. And you can't just buy wisdom on the shelf off the shelf, right? You got to go through it. And if you're humble enough and you have growth mindset and you're willing to look yourself in the mirror, you can um, absorb some of that, or at least um, use it as the sidecar on that journey. And so that's what I did, man. And it helped us navigate a lot of the potential pitfalls of that process, because it's a tough one. If you've been through it, and you have, it is one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. You're selling your baby. You think it's worth more than you actually think it's actually worth in the market. There are sharks out there. There are easy ways for you to get taken advantage of. And those are potholes you want to be aware of, or you're going to drive right into them.
There's a quick side note here. And I got some other questions for you, but I think a good definition in the mixture of what knowledge is compared to wisdom. Knowledge is something that you've learned by experience. Wisdom is from someone else, so you can not have to go through those challenges. And the Bible explains it quite a bit. It's like, in all you're getting, get wisdom, because it's like life is already hard enough. And if you can, dodge these challenges in life by gaining wisdom from other people that have gone through those experiences, that's the best way. So you get, experience and wisdom from people that have gone through it so that you don't have to go through those challenges. I mean, that's the big benefit of a mentor and coach. And I think, there's one aspect of it of like, you have your family around you that can give you that insight, but there's other aspect of it. It's like skilled knowledge in those certain areas. It's like sometimes, most of the time, people that grew up, they're like, I want to be, what is what you've experienced growing up. But really, you have to go get wisdom from other people with a lifestyle that you want. And that I know for me, that was a big transition. How was it for you of realizing, hey, my folks, the wisdom they gave me are great, but at the same time, like, I got to go figure out this path with these specific skills that I need to know. Like, and oftentimes you have to pay for that. Like, what does that look like for what you've had to go through and learning all the ins and outs of e-commerce and selling these companies?
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a complicated aspect of life, because I think that, especially as a parent, you want to impart your wisdom on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And certain things you can, and depending on their personality, it's easier than others, right? However, there are certain things you just got to go through. Like, I can't teach you what it feels like to lift weights and just be like, hey, I'm going to impart this wisdom on what it feels like to lift it. And now you know what it's like to lift. No, dude, like, you're going to have to get on the bench and you're going to push the weight up and you're going to feel it. I can't tell you what that feels like. I can try to explain it, but it's going to mean almost nothing to you until you actually go through it.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is really hard about it. It says, yes, you can have people impart wisdom on you, and some things you just got to go through. And the more bullheaded you are, the more you're going to have to go through it, the more mistakes you're going to repeat, and the slower you're going to go.
Mm.
So if you want to go fast, dude, you got to be humble. If you want to go fast, you got to surround yourself with people that are going to make you feel stupid. And it's not because they're mean. It's because they just know more than you, and they've done more, and they've seen more, and they have more wisdom. And so being surrounded by people that make you feel small, and not in a harsh sense, just because you're like, whoa, I thought I accomplished a lot, but these people are like 20 times more successful than I in whatever area it is. Being able to be wrong. Like, one of my favorite quotes is, strong opinions loosely held. You can have a strong opinion, but you need to be up for being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be open to the possibility that this thing that you're like really adamant is the right direction is the wrong one.
Did you go into like masterminds or other things like that to get into those communities or in those rooms? Like, what did you have to, over the years, what did you end up doing to really kind of get in those places to surround yourself with like-minded people?
Yeah. Early on, it was just bringing value, value, value. And so we lived in the Midwest for a long time in a small town in Iowa. And I was going moderately crazy because I need a lot of mental business stimulus. And so I would just be on the road a lot in these different pockets in the Midwest where there was a lot of, like, tech startup stuff happening at the time. And I would just be there, be like, hey, how can I bring value? They're like, oh, they need mentorship in e-com, or they need mentorship, and whatever it was that I had specific knowledge on, I would just bring it. And I tell you, man, when you are that person that is just bringing value because you like to, because you want to see people succeed, people want to see you succeed. And so my network exploded. And
Mm.
then through the podcast, the network exploded again. And it was just bringing value, 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 value. And like attracts like. Right.
That,
If you're a giver, you're going to attract a bunch of givers, and people are going to want to see you succeed too. So those were early days before masterminds, before coaching, before any of those sorts of paid um, networking events, for lack of a better phrase. That's what I did. And then that moved into like, okay, if I want to be in the room with heavier hitters, I'm going to pay. If I want to have better guidance, I'm going to pay. And then just seeing, like, just having access to that sort of talent and those networks, and of course, the coaching expertise, that's when it started to accelerate.
yeah. This online space with coaching and mentorship has exploded. With the days of COVID and then up until now, it's pretty wild how many people have gone online and kind of shared their experience. Maybe it's the, millennials and, that kind of shifted into that gear. I don't know. But talk to us about like what you're doing now, because you do a lot of like mentorship with businesses, but you have an edge here of like, you're talking about faith driven, Christian men and women that want that business help, but also to know how to scale. Like, talk about the leadership style of things that you're teaching now.
Yeah. Yeah. So specifically Christian businessmen, we will be coaching women, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Um, well, I'll touch on that real quick. So we coach strictly men, and the backstory in that is that when I discovered coaching for myself, I was bummed. And I was bummed because I know a lot about a lot of business models, and I had missed this one.
Hmm.
And I started to figure out, like, how did I miss this for myself? And then I realized it's because I hate coaches.
Talk
And
about that.
the reason being is that, 90% of coaches out there they read a book, they got certified, and now they're a coach.
Mm.
And it drives me crazy because all this talk we just had about wisdom, right? It's like, wait a minute, you don't get to do that. You haven't done the thing. This is me like trying to coach a woman on how to push a baby out. I've been to plenty of live births. I've had 4 kids of my own, but I haven't done the thing. I
Right.
haven't lifted the weight, right? To bring the other analogy back. I don't know what it feels like. I've been there. I can give you a little bit of advice, but I haven't done the thing. And so if that's true, then I need to stay authentic to me, and like, who do I relate to? What's the life that I've lived?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer. I'm a man of faith. I'm a husband and a father. I've run multiple businesses, and it's cornerstone to who that I am. That's what I could speak to. And until we have a female on the team, which we will, I don't coach women because I don't know what it's like to be a female leader. I can give you a lot of advice. I think that would be helpful, but I haven't felt it. I haven't done it. Like, who am I to do that? And so I had someone today that messaged me. They're like, "Oh, how dare you?" I'm like, "How dare me? I want to bring the most value to the people that I can relate to, and I want it to be real."
Yeah.
And when we have a female believer on the team, we will do that. And she will coach the female leaders because she's lived it. I haven't lived it. And so that's what we do. And we coach, on 3 different areas. One is on identity. And we'll talk about that in a second. One is on leadership, and it's leadership principles on how to lead yourself, your family, your team, and your community. And in that order and on purpose. Because if we can't lead ourselves well, we're not leading anybody else anywhere. We can't take anyone any farther than we've been. And then I have a coach on the team that all he does is coach folks through their SOPs, their processes, their scorecards, their KPIs, and really the in the weeds sort of operational aspects of the business. And so that's what we do. And it's important to me, the identity piece in particular, because when you have people, and you probably have these coffee dates all the time, if someone needs some help and they're going in 100 different directions and they're asking you a ton of questions, and if you sit back for a second and this, I love doing this, I'll just ask, why? Why you? Why are you even working on this? And the reason it's important is because they don't know who they are and they don't know why they're working on what they're working on. And when you are in that state of mind, every piece of advice sounds like the right one.
Hmm.
Every guru, every hack, every tactic, every direction seems like the right one because you don't even know why you're working on what you're working on. And more importantly, you don't even know who you are. And when you can get to the basis of that and you know who you are and why you're working on it,
Yeah.
and you get tied to the mission, when advice comes through that's good advice, but not for you, it's good advice, wrong person, super easy to say no. Like, thank you, Nathan. I appreciate the advice, but it's not for me. And
Yeah.
I can say that confidently because I know who I am and I know why I'm working on it. And I know how God wants me to show up in a specific project because I'm one of one.
Yeah.
I can't be you. You can't be me. And so that to me is like critically important because that cuts through so much noise, dude.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Discernment. And that's not easy to have. I feel like those younger entrepreneurs, they're just like, they'll take any advice and then they hop all sorts of different things. Um, I can imagine that being probably a challenge with some of the clients that you have too, with leading people through that. It's like, hey, just because that is a direction doesn't mean you should, go down that direction.
Yes. It's funny because like we're more and more helping our clients to just be quiet with the Lord and ask him what he wants you to know. What's he trying to teach you here? Then shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just be quiet. And the thing is like we help them with that, but it's also like, all right, so what did he tell you? And then when they state what he told you, it's like, what are you going to do about it? And hold them accountable to that. Like that's obedience. Because it's powerful to stop, ask, be quiet, listen, but it means nothing if we don't do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so God's calling us to be more of who we are. Right. There's that Michelangelo quote about the statue of the David, and somebody was asking him like about how he did it. And he's like, oh, the David was always in there. I just chipped away what wasn't the David. And that's what we're doing. We're just helping people chip away what's not the David, what's not the Nathan. And some of that junk that's glommed onto you is from your parents. Some of it's from your culture. Some of it's from your life experience. And it's like, let's chip that away. You look a lot better with all that junk on you. You look a lot more like Nathan instead of like somebody else, or what somebody else thinks the way you should look or how you should act or the business you should run. And that's why this is so fun for me, because like I don't feel like I'm doing much of anything. It's just like, hey, let's help you figure out how you need to show up. Let's figure out how you communicate and how you need to lead, and then help you figure out how to communicate with the people on your team that maybe lead a little different. They see the world a little differently and you can't figure out how to get through to them. We help you unlock that. Like, let's do more with less. Let's be more profitable with the same team. And let's have fun. Let's have fun. Let's build a better culture. And you can do that when you figure out who you are, and then you can unlock the people on your team, figure out who they are. But if you can't do that, and this is the reason that people come in for what they want, which is unlocking their team, and really what they need is unlock them. Because you can't do that for them if you can't do it for yourself. And so we help them do that.
I want to ask you this. I've come to the realization after just hiring, so many people over the years. When I ran a marketing agency, I hired probably hundreds of VAs over the years. And then when I ran sales teams, there was just a constant hiring, and it was just always that case. But I'm finding out more that, I've built more of my company. I realized that there needs to be clarity on culture. And someone chunked it down for me where it was like, you want to hire first for culture fit, then you hire for the character resolve of that person, and then their skill set. Most of the time people do it the opposite, where they hire for skill and then maybe hopefully character, and then hopefully, culture fit. And when I'm thinking about the culture that I want to build, I want to get your take on this because you're a Christian guy too, is I only want to hire Christian people. And the reason why is because humans are messy and crazy already. But if they don't have the Spirit of God living in them, then it's just like, it's even challenging, even more so. So I'm like, all right, I'm only going to hire Christians, not because it's like a bad thing, but it's like, I only want the Spirit of God in people because it's already hard enough. And if they don't have God in their life, it's already a challenge. What's your take on some of that?
I'm with you there, man. So we got the head and the heart. Get the head and the heart. You can teach people how to do the thing. If they're moderately intelligent, I can teach anybody to do almost anything. If you got the intelligence and the desire, dude, I can help you. I can teach you how to do almost anything. If it's within your superpower, dude, cake. Your heart, though,
Mm-hmm.
this is when we're talking about culture. It's like, can I change the fact that you aren't a believer? Sure, I can help you with that. Do I want to do that within the context of my business? That's tough. You're not a hard worker and teach you how to be a hard worker? I don't think so. Can I teach you how to care? I don't think so. You try. But why would you create so much strife for yourself from the get-go? Right? And so like teaching someone how to do something like their head knowledge so much easier. I'll give you an example. There's a single mom in town that started a restaurant. She's grown to 4 within the last 5 years. She is crushing, dude. She really has a 5th business. 5 businesses, just crushing. And any of the restaurants you go into, everybody's happy. Service is amazing. And so a friend of ours asked her, "How did you do this? What is this?" She's like, "Oh, she screens for cultural fit, and desire and some experience, and then she trains them in on her way of doing things. But if somebody starts to slip, she'll sit them down mid shift and be like, 'Hey, what's going on?' And they might give some excuses on performance, like, 'Hey, I'm tired,' or 'I overslept,' or whatever. She'll say, like, 'No, what's going on with you? What's happening with you?' And maybe they've got some personal stuff going on and she can help them through that, right? Whether somebody's sick at home or somebody died or whatever. But if she finds out that they're unhappy, like they just actually don't like doing what they're doing, they just need the paycheck, she'll walk them to the register and she'll say, 'Hey, you're paid till Friday. Here's your paycheck. Go find something that you enjoy. But it's not here, so you got to go.'"
Yeah.
And she'll fire them on the spot, but not a hateful way, out of love. She's like, "Hey, you're not happy here. If you're not happy here, then I'm like, go find something that you want to do. Do it somewhere else. And oh, by the way, you're not doing us any favors because you're dragging us down." Like she will weed it out immediately. She'll eradicate it.
Yeah.
That's how important it is. But here's the thing, Nathan, that we forget about as hard chargers sometimes. That does not make it fun to have people around that are just cogs in the machine. It's not fun.
No.
It's not fun to be around a bunch of people that are just clocking in, clocking out, getting a paycheck. It's like pulling teeth. And so sometimes you got people in the wrong seat, and I help you figure that out. But man, sometimes they're on the wrong bus, bro. And they got to go. And you might say, "Well, dude, I really need them. It's hard to find those people." Do you? Is it? It might be harder to keep them in. It might be harder to keep them there. I got a friend of mine that runs a giant organization, and they had a hire that they couldn't find forever. Found a guy. He was kind of borderline, but they really needed him, and they hired him. A month later, he was gone because he's like, "Dude, we needed this guy, and we needed his work horsepower, but he was cancer to our organization. We cut him out." And it made the workload hard for that department. But what's harder on that department is a bad fit.
Talk about the entrepreneurs. We're always like going. We're always lightning speeds of like, we want it now. We're impatient. So when we're talking about like hiring, more often than not, it's like we need that right now. And so you hire quick, but then it ends up becoming, more challenging because you have to, hire up or, hire out, and it just becomes more complicated, or you end up hiring mercenaries instead of people with the heart and care, and then hiring takes forever sometimes. Like, what's your thoughts behind, hiring slow, firing fast? What's your techniques there.
Yeah. I think the hire slow, fire fast for sure. I don't know anyone that fired somebody and thought, I should have waited longer. Typically,
No.
it's like, dude, I waited way too long. They should have been gone a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 years ago or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So we all know that. And I think that is it's an important aspect that we could all get better at. Deeper question is, why are we moving so fast? What's the hurry? What's the rush? Because to me, a lot of times when we're moving really quickly, not all the time, but a lot of times when we're moving quickly, it's because we're fearful.
Hmm.
So what are you scared about? Oh, this guy's going to eat my lunch, or this company's going to, we're going to move, or we're going to miss the, why? What, who says? Who says we're going to miss anything? I've gone really, really fast on things in the wrong direction. I'm great at it. I can go 100 miles an hour, and then I'll look up and I'm like, holy crap, I'm farther away from where I wanted to be because I was so scared of missing it.
Mm.
So what are we moving fast for? I had a friend of mine growing a company like lightning speed, like a rocket ship. And I said, hey, dude, he's killing himself and his family and his team and his cash flow. I'm like, hey, what if you didn't grow this year? What if you just pumped the brakes and just like strengthened the foundation and took a break for a minute and just like maintained? You're still crushing it. And he's like, I don't even know what you're saying right now. I can't even comprehend this advice you're giving me. So really, what are we moving fast for? And I'm telling you right now, it is fear. And a lot of us that are, hard drivers, we're like, fear. I don't even use that word. That's okay. You don't need to. You're living it. You're living in fear. And if you're like leaning in, if you're a believer and you're listening to the show, man, if you don't listen to anything else I talk about, just stop for a minute and ask the Lord, what are you teaching me here? He might stop and tell you that you need to abide in him more. You need to trust in him more. Right? It says faith and fear can't coexist. It's like, if we're being fearful, we are not being faithful. I love the Bible verse, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. It's like, you believe, but not entirely. You believe, but not in this area of your life. You believe, but not this time. And so, learning a lot actually from Jamie Winship. And if you haven't listened to any of his stuff, I maybe just stop this podcast now and listen to him. I didn't say that, Nathan.
I got to have him
But
on the podcast.
oh, he's incredible. And so the thing is like, that prayer of like, Lord, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do? Leaning on him, but also truth telling. He talks about a lot, which is, I've been praying now. I'll pray and then I'll truth tell, which is, I don't think you're coming through for me on this one, bro. I'm scared about this and I don't think you're coming through. I mean, just see what he tells you. See the direction he gives you. I was having a day where, the problem with being super connected sometimes to people that have done big things is that they give you conflicting advice. And so I was seeking advice from 3 or 4 incredibly established founders in this area that I'm working on. And they all gave me really great advice and it was all conflicting. And my engineering mind, when it can't do math, it starts to self-destruct. And so I found myself spiraling and I'm like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pray. And I did this prayer, truth telling, like, hey, I don't think you're coming through for me this time. I got all this conflicting advice. I cannot make heads or tails of it. And I was just quiet. And sometimes I hear from him, sometimes I don't. And this time he spoke to me very clearly. And almost in a laughing tone, Nathan, he said, you think I need all this information? You think I need all these details? North, south, east, west, I don't care what direction you go. If it's meant to work, it'll work. I don't need all this stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Snap of my fingers, I can make it work. Snap of my fingers, it doesn't. It's not up to you. And immediately I was like at peace, man, because it's like, oh, I am worried about these details. I'm not controlling this situation, right? He's driving. I'm in the sidecar. I'm here to do the work he wants me to do, but I don't control the outcome. That's for him. That's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the peace that you get when you're like, you know who you are, you know whose you are. You know who's in control, and you know what you're here for. You're a puzzle piece. You're not the puzzle maker.
That's right. I remember my dad telling me, he's like, any decision you make out of fear is always the wrong one.
Mm.
And it's so true, man. I think so many people, they just are going through life and they're not trusting God. They're not taking the moment to sit with Jesus. They're not taking the moment to kind of assess what they're doing, what direction they're going to. They're just like, it's just grinding, and they're just moving in the wrong directions more often than not. And kind
Yeah.
of coming up with a strategic game plan of outlining, hey, how can we grow simple? How can we do things the right way? How can we build things the appropriate way? Is I think a good way to kind of approach life and in business.
Yeah. Everything, man. Like just stop. Just stop for a minute.
I want to ask you, with your life and your business turn now after you sold, your one of your main companies last year, and now shifting into the faith-driven leadership coaching and helping drive people there. How much of AI are you using?
Yeah. It's been, so I've got a full-time EA that is like fully embraced AI. And so he's using it as his sort of sidecar. And I'm using it heavily. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine yesterday, who's super accomplished dude. And I was just telling him, like, it is the counterpart to where I'm weak, right? And so for me, it's like I know where I want to go, and I know the direction I want to go, creating content or whatever it is that I'm using it for. And I know where I'm weak, and it's helping me in those areas, right? Whether it's creativity, whether it's automations, um, that sort of thing. And so it's playing more and more a role in how we're interacting. I think the tension is keeping humanity, like we talked about earlier. And for me, it's like, hey, this is a lever that I can pull to reach more people. How do I do that and still not lose myself in it? How do I do that and, you know, be impactful? How do I do that and not just bring more noise to the world?
Yeah. What do you think about volume versus quality? Because I think, yeah, creating content or creating things, what's your take on that? Because in my mind, like, I think why can't we have both?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes there's like, take a beat and kind of like hear from God in that direction. But then once it's like, why not go balls to the wall with that direction?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that from a faith driven leader perspective, it is quiet listening, um, hearing, obedience forever. And so it's like I hear and I get direction. And sometimes then I'll just like, all right, got it, marching orders out of here. And he's like, no, 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 no. Dude, stay, stay by me. You're still the apprentice. Stay by me. Like that was for this step. Stay with me. Stay with me. No, 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 no. Don't go. Stay with me. And so, and if he's with you and he wants you to go 100 miles an hour and you stay yoked to him, awesome. Do it. And so I think it's constantly checking in.
Mm.
It's constant direction. Because he might be like, hey, we're going 100 miles an hour today. And then tomorrow I was like, all right, I need you to pump the brakes. And you're like, oh, I don't want to pump the brakes. I got this thing's going. It's really well. No, no, I want you to pump the brakes now.
Mm.
Why don't you let your foot off the grass, bro? And so if we're constantly checking in, then we know. And then we can continue to move confidently. So that's my elusive answer to your question. Because I think that he may want you to go fast. And he may not. And when that's in direct conflict with how we want to operate is when wisdom is born, or we make really stupid mistakes. And so I said earlier in the episode, strong opinions loosely held, right? Like that's not a biblical quote. I think it's from Andreessen or something, but I love pairing that with the Lord. What do you want me to know? And what are you teaching me here? because he's going to answer you, and he might tell you something you don't want to hear. And you got to be open to being like, oh, shoot, you want me to pump the brakes? But I was having a lot of fun going 100 miles an hour. He's like, nope,
Yeah.
pump the brakes now.
What do you think of when I think of Jesus? I think him as a really compelling person. And when I look at the lifestyle that he's had, he was never in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
He was always, if anything, he always got away, in private, was waking up earlier, sometimes staying up late, but being with the presence of Jesus and deep prayer.
Yeah.
What does that life look like for you now? Like as you're trying to, shift into, instead of doing e-commerce and all these other businesses and, podcasts, you're shifting into more of like the direction of leadership coaching. And you have a family that you're busy enough with. What does your day in the life look like for you with, being in the presence of Jesus? What does that disciplined alignment look like for you?
Yeah. So my mind's going like three different directions here. One is just as a gut check for the listener. Jesus had the most important career, I'm going to put it that way, of anybody on the earth. He had the biggest mission of anybody that's ever walked this planet. He only had 3 years to do it. And he walked everywhere. And he still took time with the Lord. He still got his quiet time, like you said. None of us have a mission that big. I don't care who you are. Very few of us only have 3 years to do it. So check yourself there when you're like, oh, I got to move fast. I don't have any time. Like, I think you're going to be okay. I think you'll be just fine. And oh, by the way, he doesn't need you anyways to do it. If it's not you, it's somebody else. What he needs is relationship, right? It's the relationship that precedes the doing. My pastor just preached on yesterday. It's not doing then relationship. We always get it backwards. It's relationship then doing, right? We're here to do some work, right? We're here to tend to the garden. We were designed to work. We will continue to work. We're going to work in heaven. So anybody who's hearing this and doesn't know that yet, you're going to be working when you die, but you'll enjoy it. It won't be toil. We are designed. We are built to work, but it's always preceded by relationship. And if I can't live that, then I'm going to be disconnected and I'm going to go in the wrong direction or go too fast. For me, even this morning, like I got up a little bit later, about half an hour later than I wanted to. And then I had some distractions this morning and I really, really wanted to skip my morning routine. I got to talk to Nathan this morning. I don't usually have podcasts this early. I usually have focus time this early. I'm like, dude, I don't have the time. And my Mondays especially are front loaded with a ton of setup mentally. And I just had to remind myself, like, no, dude, this is where people get off course. This is where people skip the gym because they don't have time. And before they know it, it's been months since they've been in the gym. Speaking for myself sometimes. And so it's like having the discipline to know that relationship first, the doing is second. And so for me, I have a very specific morning routine, and it starts with just quiet time with the Lord. And it might be some Bible verse prompts. It might be nothing. I might just be sitting there quietly. And it's this asking, truth telling, listening, obedience that I just talked to you about. You got to live it. And so that's what it looks like for me in the morning. And it's journaling in the morning. Almost every show that I'm on, I show this, the Legend Planner. This is my 6th year using the Legend Planner. You can get on Amazon. These guys owe me a lot of royalties. And it's just a good setup to like, what's my life? What do I want my life to be like? What does success look like? How do I want to be remembered when I'm gone? This is all filled out. And I've recorded myself reading it to myself every Monday morning. I watch it. And is it because I'm weird? No, it's because I'm dumb. I'll forget.
Yeah.
I will forget. I have to remember. And the only way I remember is I play it back to myself. Vivid Vision, another book that I wrote my Vivid Vision out about 18 months ago because it's a 3-year plan. And I listen to it. I record myself. I listen to it. Hey, bro, this is the vision. Don't forget. Don't forget. And so it's those reminders that's what it looks like for me. And it's so critically important. And for people that are not living like that, which is the majority of society, it's no wonder we're so lost and lonely and depressed and have anxiety and stress and fear. Of course you do. You're a boat without a motor and no rudder in the middle of the ocean. You're floating around. It's scary. Of course you live like that. Of course that's your reality, because you're alone. And you're just out there trying to do with no relationship, no direction, no support system. So I typically have my Yoked hat here, which is one of our brands. And it's, for me, it was like a reminder, like, what did he say? He said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. What does that mean? The yoke would connect a junior ox and a senior ox. Why? To help you give direction. How hard to pull, how fast to go, when to start, when to stop, when to go left, when to go right. But also, the senior ox could pull a disproportionate amount of the load, a load the junior ox could never pull on its own. We have to remember, like, to stay yoked to him. We cannot carry the load by ourselves. And oh, by the way, we weren't designed to anyways. We were designed to walk hand in hand with the Father in the garden. That's how we were designed to do, right? That's what we were designed to do, I should say. We're out there trying to pull the weight. We were never designed to carry on our own. And oh, by the way, you're too weak to. You can't do it anyways.
Brother, I could talk to you forever about all this. So fascinating. I love talking about this. We're over time already, but how can people connect with you further, brother?
Yeah, appreciate the question, man. We got a resource called 5 Secrets to Leading Biblically While Growing Revenue. You just type in the 2 words Whitestone to 55444, and they can get that resource. We run workshops frequently called Faith Driven Leadership Live. If you get on our email lists, which you will when you get the download, you'll get notified the next time we're having them. And they're multi-day events that are just super powerful. It's a way for me to bring a ton of value to the world, in an effort to bring value, but also in an effort to just raise awareness to what we're doing and how you can get involved. So that's the best way.
I'll put those links down below. Go follow Peter. He's a cool guy. Man, love this. I could keep on talking forever about some of this stuff. It's so
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, Peter, thanks so much for being on the show. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Don't forget those resources and links down below, and we will see you on the next episode.